their microphones on mute and their cameras off, because the lads will be sharing the screen, and if there's pictures and people's faces popping up. So if we can keep the cameras off and the microphones off, it'd be much appreciated. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, just write it into the text box. Just like to welcome Anthony Courtney and Brian O'Connor. Anthony is the GDA for the north of the county, so the Cooley Peninsula and that area, and Brian Oak is the GDA for Dundalk area. So welcome the two lads onto the call.
Okay, folks, so thanks for joining us tonight. So as Shane said, we're just going to run through this. It's going to be focused mostly towards the child end things tonight. So what we're going to focus on, first of all, what do we mean by technical practice? Okay, so we're going to outline what exactly we mean by that. How do we develop technical practice within our coaching sessions? How to coach the skills, okay, and recognize the different variables that can be used to alter activities. So there are some of the main topics that we're going to be going through tonight during this presentation. All right. So Anthony, just want to push on it. So what is technical practice? Okay. So technical practice is just push on knowing what to do and when to do it. All right. So what skill to perform and when exactly to perform that skill. Okay, so when do I bounce the ball? When should I solo the ball? When should I do the kick pass? When is a hand pass more appropriate? So coaching our children and our players when this is appropriate and when to practice these skills. Be able to perform the techniques of the game, right? So the different numbers of balls in our game. So our hand pass, like I mentioned already, kick pass, all the different skills, and how we break them down even more to coach them more efficiently. All right. Just push it on there, Anto. Accurately, okay. So consistently, so that we're getting more consistency into our players, that we're coaching them the proper techniques, the proper coaching practices, if you like, consistently on a consistent basis. So we're not changing from one night to the next and giving our players loads of information and just changing our idea constantly from one night to the next, okay, and how things should be done. And eventually we want them doing it at match tempo. All right. So when it comes to the game situation, they're fit to perform these skills in a pressurized environment where it nearly becomes second nature to them. Don't even have to think of which skill to execute. That just comes to them, and they can perform the skill accurately and consistently, as mentioned before. Okay, so first of all, there's 3 phases of development. Okay, so in the child phase, which would be the early phase, there's going to be lots of mistakes. There's going to be lots of errors. All right, the players are coming in and they're looking for the coach for instruction and direction what to do. Okay, so they're looking get guidance from you as the coach of where to go, what skill to execute, and when to execute the skill. In the intermediate phase, they've achieved the basic level of confidence, okay, so they're pretty comfortable doing the skill. All right, so they've achieved that and they perform the skill in a faster and more appropriate structured competitive environment. So in your games and your activities, your drills, your condition games, your modified games, or whatever you set up, they're fit to perform these skills in that environment. Put it on that. And then we've the advanced stage, or the advanced stage is like we were saying earlier, when the skill becomes automatic and is performed under pressure. The focus is on the advanced skills and the team play. Okay, so like we said earlier, it's automatic. They don't even have to think about it, and they just move on to the skill nice and easy. Okay, just going to pass you on to Anthony.
Yeah. So just how do we create an environment to develop? So I suppose a lot of the stuff that we're covering, I know a lot of you are probably doing it in your clubs anyway, so it's just trying to refresh their memory and just to recap on a couple of things. So I suppose the create environment of learning, I suppose you as the coach, I suppose one thing is to be organised. So what I mean by organised is having your session planned, the aim of the session, and anything you do, will you achieve them aims on reflection? Again, prepared. You as a coach, you have to be during the session positive, enthusiastic. I suppose encouraging the players, encourage them to try and improve and get better. Each session you take to the field, and suppose have empathy for your players, because not everything's going to go right for them. All right, so just showing that empathy, that it's okay to make mistakes during the session. So look, as a coach, it's important to expose the players to lots of different skills, and the way we go about that is probably through games. So make it a game as soon as possible. So you can, a lot of coaches out there that could be nearly afraid to go straight into a game. So we could call like a whole part whole. So start off with a game situation, then you can come out of the game. If that game's breaking down, so if you're focused on running off the shoulder, supporting the man on the ball, if you feel that's breaking down during the game, you can pare it back, bring it back into a wee drill situation where you're focusing on running off the shoulder. Then you can go back into the game. So don't be afraid to go straight into a game if you have to. And during the game, try and coach them through the game. I suppose benefit of the games is a lot of decision making. It encourages coaches. The coaches encourage the players. The players are in a situation where they find themselves in a game, so they're able to react quickly to different situations and effectively. So it improves their skills and match situations during training. So when they go into a game, that it'll come nearly automatic to them. And again, let them make mistakes, because they learn from their mistakes. Next thing, so never leave the ball out. Look, we'll try it. Coaches need to look at the ratio of footballs to players to ensure participation is at its maximum. So to do this, you can do this during the warm-up. So think about where they can get the touches in the session. So your warm-up, you can practice your kicking, your pickups, your hand passing, your catching, and different things like that. So look at all if you look at the session, if you keep the ball in, your first touch becomes better. Your decision making will come better, and this will come more automatic to the player. So if they're passing, they're not just during the warm-up, if they're kicking the ball to a moving player and different things like that. So make sure you use left and right foot. A lot of this is during the warm-up, I suppose. Again, this is a critical stage where they could get their touches in, get both sides of their body working. I suppose from the age of 11 really and 12, you'd want your players to be nearly comfortable working off both sides, that it will come automatic to them. So if they're being forced to use their left foot, that it just comes automatic that they use it, and vice versa with their right foot. And participants, just during the training, that they're learning these skills through different ways, through match situations, small-sided games. All right. So ways to aid technical practice. So individual practice against the wall, through your condition games, your skills, and your full match. So what does good coaching look like? So here we have our tourist principles. So if anybody was on the webinars over the last number of days, you probably would have heard the coaches talking about the tourists. The coaching and game staff we will be doing webinars with our clubs over the next couple of days or weeks. So what tours mean? So we're testing and challenging all players. So the players should be challenged during the session to try and improve. So understanding player is at the center of the game and provides individual development. So the session is player centered. Whatever we're trying to do, it resembles the game, so games based. All players involved all of the time, lots of touches and lots of decisions, and should always be enjoyable, development appropriate for our players. So that's our tourist principle, and that's like our player pathway. So
Okay, now we're going to look at the, yeah, sorry. Now, folks, we're just going to look at the ideal principle. Okay, so you came across this if you've done any courses with history or foundation course or your Word 1. So in the ideal principle, this is basically breaking down how to coach the skill. All right. So the first thing we do is we introduce the skill. Okay, so we outline to our players what the skill is, why we're learning the skill, and what are situations that the skill will need to be used. Okay, so the first thing is for the I, introduce. All right. D is demonstrate. Okay, so we're demonstrating this. So we're again breaking the skill down. If we can break the skill down as much as possible for our players, the easier it gets for them to understand. Okay, the things is just focusing on your hands and your feet. All right, any skill you go to do, you can break it down that way. What are they doing with their head? What are they doing with their hands? There's the feet. All right, don't be overloading them with information. When we are demonstrating the skill, try and get it demonstrated off both sides of the body, so left and right. Okay. For the E, let's go. We're explaining the activity. We're explaining what they're going to do. All right. Again, detailed manner. Action. All right. Right. So again, the activity's running. We're watching the activity. We're looking for areas to spot and fix. And how's it going? If the activity isn't working, don't panic. Sometimes let the activity run and see. Sometimes the players might fix themselves. And if, like Anthony said earlier, if you have to stop a game, and if you're doing a conditioned game and go into a small-sided drill, that's okay too. All right. And now the L, that's for looking. Okay, so we're looking for areas to develop. We're looking for areas to improve. Okay, so how can we bring this skill to the next level? So that's pretty much our ideal principle, and that's bringing into every skill or every activity you go to do. Okay. What we're going to look at now is parents versus coaches. Okay, so obviously parents and coaches, they're vital to the child's development. Okay, for a parent, they're very much outcome focused. Okay, they want to see their child making progress. They want to see what is getting out of it. Okay, the result is everything. So for the parent, it's all about, is their child improving from week to week? Okay, that's what they're looking for. But at the same time, it's only the one child that matters. Okay, for the parents, it's their child that matters. If we're looking at the coach, okay, the coaches are very much process focused. All right, so they're looking at how to develop the player. The coach should be more aware that players are developing a different way. Okay, was the correct technique used? Okay, so was his head in the right spot, or was he holding the ball in the right place? Was his feet correctly positioned? All right, so that's, coaches be more focused on them sort of areas, and also the coach must focus on the entire team. So not having one child to worry about, the coach could have 15, 20, a number of children that he has to try and develop and bring on. So as parents and as coaches, we need to be aware of the different things that each is looking at the process. Okay, so how can we help as coaches? All right. So as mentioned earlier, Anthony mentioned already, show empathy to your players. As a coach, you need to prepare yourself that this is going to happen. Every player is going to make mistakes. They're not all going to get it right the first go. All right. Every player is going to develop at different rates. Okay. So we need to be understanding as coaches that this is going to be the makeup of our training session. That loads of mistakes, chances are going to be made. There's no point roaring and screaming at the children, okay, or the players. We have to show and try and correct mistakes and correct what's going wrong. Be realistic. So ensuring that we're setting realistic goals and targets for our players. But there's no point in expecting your under-7s to go out and start kicking 50s or 45s over the bar. Okay, we have to be realistic. We have to set goals that are achievable for our players to reach. All right, otherwise they'll get down themselves and you'll get frustrated as a coach. Be prepared for differences. All right, as mentioned earlier, all players are going to develop at different rates. Also, some players might be strong in some areas and weaker in the others. All right, okay, so we have to make sure as coaches that we're prepared for these differences and be prepared to set up our activities and our drills and our games, whatever we're doing, is try and overcome these differences and try and make our players better all the time. Remembering long-term player development, LTPD, okay, it isn't a quick fix. Anything we go out to do, remember, we shouldn't be concerned about going up to Dover on a Wednesday night and getting 3 wins out of 3 in a blitz, okay? We need to be more concerned of how our players are developing. Like, when they come to minor, as a group of players mostly still together, how to develop those players over them years, okay, and into adult football. So we're about long-term development. So keeping that in mind all the time. Individuals, all right, so challenge individuals all the time. And remember, no 2 players are the same. All players are different. So we have to bear that in mind all the time. That there's no point going out and treating every player the same, because each player has their own personality and each player is their own different. Okay, that we have to work around as coaches. One of the big things is knowing your players. All right, you should, as time goes by, it won't take you too long. Your players' strengths, your players' weaknesses, what makes your players tick. All right, so it's very important that you know your players, know where they're coming from. All right, know their circumstances. If as coaches, a lot of us probably don't know what's going on when the child leaves training. We don't know what's going on at home. Okay, so it's important that if a child is constantly missing training or if a child seems off, okay, we have in this coach, maybe there could be something going on at home we don't know. All right, so it's important that we get to know their circumstances. Maybe you can only make training every 2nd week because the parents are working as night as training or something. They can only get every 2nd week. All right, so make sure that you know your players' circumstances before passing judgment.
Okay, so here we have our 3 stages of learning. So what's our first stage? So our first stage would be our mental stage. So I suppose out of our stage of learning, we probably have to find out what stage our players are at in terms of their development. So number 1, their mental stage. So look, at this stage we have to try and how do they recover from a setback or a mistake. So don't be afraid to challenge your players. Like take them out of their comfort zone. It is good if they are making mistakes, because then you'll find out what sort of character they are and how they'll recover. So I says as I mentioned, don't be afraid to really challenge your players. And you can even make an environment where mistakes are made and you can encourage mistakes to a certain extent, because this will show their mental strength, It'll show their mental strength. So, for example, for let's say a hand passing drill. So let's say they've been doing a hand passing drill for a couple of minutes, and it's nearly become automatic to them that they don't really have to think about it. But soon as the coach might throw something in and says blow the whistle and say opposite, so they'll have to go a different direction. And soon as the coach sees that, you're testing them mentally to see where they're at. So let's say if you start to see mistakes, then at this stage you'll get to see the character of the team or a player on how they recover after a mistake, or is there encouragement going on if a player does make a mistake? Is the rest of the team encouraging that player? Or if there is a mistake, how do you recover from that mistake? Do you let it fester and go in one mistake leading to 2 mistakes, 3 mistakes, or 4? Or after that one mistake, does the team or the player tidy up after that mistake? All right, so that's just a wee bit in the mental stage of a player. Next stage is your practice stage. So how do we get our players to learn for themselves? That's what your practice stage is. So can a player take to the field and not relying on the coach to tell our manager to be telling the player where to be all the time? So as a coach or manager, it's up to us to make sure we're questioning players so they can learn for themselves. So for example, the next time you're talking to a player, if you find a player is in the wrong position, or just go to that player and just give them a question on what could you have done differently, and tease out the answer from your players. Because rather than you telling them where they went wrong, let them figure it out for themselves. So more likely than not, they'll not make that mistake the next time. So that's your mental, your practice, and your third point is your automatic stage. So I suppose your automatic stage is your players doing something without really thinking. So for a kick passing, if you're just doing straight line kick passing, the over and back, they don't have a whole pile of thinking to do. It's just automatic. They're just trying to get their range, focusing on their technique, where their hand should be and where their feet should be. There's no decision making. There's no player moving in front of them. They don't have to hit a moving target, or there's nobody coming in to put a wee bit of pressure on them. So that's your automatic stage, that it just comes natural to them. So as I say, find out what stage your player is at, okay, and try and challenge your player by just taking them out of their comfort zone. Yeah, so I'll just hand you back over to Brian.
Okay, so how can we help in skill development? All right, so the first thing that we should be doing, we should be making the environment as welcoming as possible. All right, so preferably before training starts, you've everything set up. Okay, so everything out in the pitch ready to go. And if you can meet your players coming in the gate or the dressing room, all the better. And try and meet them with a smile on your face, okay? Because young players especially, it needs to be into a welcoming environment where they need to be seeing that there's maybe a wee bit of crack going to be had here, that it's not all about winning. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be competitive. But that it's not all about winning, okay? That they're walking in the door, there can be a wee bit of crack coming in and making sure that everyone's welcome. All right? Design the session, okay? So have your session prepared, knowing what you're doing up, preferably, or train at 7 o'clock with nothing prepared, not knowing what to do. Okay, make sure that even if it's wrote down 15 minutes beforehand, on a piece of paper, and that you know what to do, what they're going in from one activity to the next, and the session will run an awful lot smoother. It will run an awful lot quicker, and you'll find as a coach an awful lot more enjoyable, and the players will benefit an awful lot more from it as well. So if you design your session and around your players' needs as well, okay? So like we said before, be realistic, making sure that we're identifying areas that that our players need to work on, and we're designing our session around that also. Okay, give instructions and feedback. Okay, so you're instructing your players what to do, especially in that early phase that we were talking about. That's what the players are looking for. They're looking for instruction. Okay, they're looking for where to go, what to do, and remember, always giving feedback to your players. It's not enough just to set up a load of activities and let the drills run. Okay, you need to be given areas of improvement to your players. Okay, what they can work on, urge them constantly. Okay, constructive criticism is okay. Design your sessions to help maximize growth. Okay, so what do we mean by maximize growth? Pretty much what we mean, taking your players out of their comfort zone. Okay, so it's all right setting up drills and setting up activities that you know yourself is going to run smoothly, and if there's another session or there's someone else on the pitch and they're looking down there and they're thinking, geez, that session looks like it's running really well. It's really well set up. But it's Anthony's create an environment where mistakes are welcome. To make our players better in the comfort zone and push them into areas where they're going to make mistakes. Okay? So it's not enough just doing straight line drills or doing crossfield stuff where there's no real obstacles to them. Let's get obstacles in the road. Let's get them thinking of when to bounce, when to solo, when to kick, when to hand pass, all the different skills. When are they going to do these things? All right, so make sure we're getting our players out of their comfort zone and we constantly are challenging them. All right, so remember, it's player centered. Every session we design is about the improvement of our players. It's about our players. It's about making it fun for them. It's about developing them. So it's not about us as coaches. It's about developing the players. It's not about organising drills and activities to make them possibly make us look good because we've seen someone else doing them and we think, because if I run that down in training, it'll make me look really good as a coach. It's about improving our players. Okay. And like we said earlier, focus on head hand. Okay, so three basic areas. I mentioned what are they doing with their heads, what are they doing with their hands, what are they doing with their feet. If we focus on those three things, it'll break the skill right down for their players, and they'll pick up the techniques and everything else much. If we overload them with information, to get too technical with them, it'll just go all over their heads. You know yourselves. If we overload anyone, it's not going to go through. Okay, you need to break it right down to head, hands, feet. They're the three main ones. Okay. So we're going to move on to block practice versus random practice. Okay, so what do we mean by block practice? Block practice is practicing a skill in isolation repeatedly. All right. So, like it says there, seeing how many crouch lifts you can do in 20 seconds. Okay, so at the minute, you see all the time low skill challenges being put out, and great. All right. But a lot of the time, that if we say, see how many do in 20 seconds, okay, sometimes the technique goes out the window. All right. They're getting the ball, they're just picking it up, dropping it again. All right. So it can also develop bad habits. So we need to be aware of that if we're practicing block practice. That we're now bad habits into our training. Okay, so we're moving on to random practice. Okay, so if we go to random practice, it involves combining two or more skills in the exercise. So crouch followed by a solo or kick. So instead of just seeing how many crouch lifts can you do in 20 seconds, you're asking your player, okay, pick up the ball, lift your head, take your 4 steps, take a bounce, and offload the ball, or set it down again. Okay, so therefore they're getting 2 skills in. All right, it's more random for them, and it'd be much more enjoyable for them, and they're picking up better habits. Never in a game are you just going to put your head down and pick up a ball and set it down again. Okay, you must pick up a ball, take your 4 steps, and offload it, put it down, and then do the exercise again. All right, we need our players learn to lift their heads as soon as they get that ball into their hands. We want to create heads-up bucklers.
Okay, so here we have coaching a skill v running a drill. So what is running a drill? So it's an activity is set up that allows players to practice the tactical and technical of their game. And coaching a skill requires the coach to communicate the correct coaching points or principles of the skill of tactical play. I suppose they're two. I suppose they're two. They're sort of similar, but they're very different at the same time. So for running a drill, I suppose it pairs it right back for that player. I suppose you can't do one without the other. Maybe you have to start. I suppose if we look at the player pathway from a younger age, probably starting off with running a drill, so your straight lines, getting them used to that, so your automatic stage, so it's repeat, so that they get an understanding of performing the skill, and then really, I suppose, to coach that skill even further, we have to bring that into a situation which will involve them to perform that in a game situation. So I suppose coaching the skill is probably where the coach really comes into their own, where they're in the middle of the session and they're coaching the players through that session. So where it be at your kick passing, okay. So you're looking to kick that ball into space. So if you go back to the drill, you're probably focusing on just kicking the ball a lot of the time in straight lines. But when you go into coaching it in the game situation, you're looking to kick it to a moving player. So kicking the ball into the space for a player to move into it. So both very similar, but one develops on. So the coaching the skill develops on from running it in a drill situation. Okay. So trying to bring everything back into a game situation.
Okay, so we'll go to open skill versus closed skill. Okay, so again, what do we mean by an open skill? Skill that's in environment, the player must make decisions based on what is happening around them. Okay, so an open skill would be more random. Okay, that, for example, right, I know a player is doing a solo. Okay, so they're going to take a shot. Maybe and they're going to be blocked down. They have to change their mind. Okay, if they can see that they're going to be blocked down, they have to randomly change their mind and then maybe do a dummy solo or do a dummy bounce to create that space for themselves. Okay, so it's important as coaches that we encourage this sort of behavior all the time. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like seeing chip lifts and don't like seeing just a bit of flair, but it's important as coaches that maybe dummy solo or a dummy bounce, all right, or a fake hand pass, or now and again, that when it comes to the game situation, see they're going to be blocked down, they know what to do. Close skill involves less decision making as the environment is more predictable. All right. So again, it's probably if you're doing a coaching session, close skill probably your straight line drills again. Okay, so there's no obstacles in their way. They just have to solo the ball from one end to the other. All right. So if probably working in if we're looking for technique and developing the skill, we start off with a close skill. Eventually, we want to get our players in that open skill environment as quickly as possible. All right. So they're learning to develop and make decisions. Just bear in mind that as coaches, we can't make decisions for them whenever they go out onto the pitch. So it's important that we work in decision making throughout our training session.
Okay, so recognizing different variables that can be used to alter activities. So here, so as a coach, you try and keep reinventing and keep the skills fresh. So again, progressing from automatic stage where it's second nature to the player or the team. Try and reinvent your session to where you move on to challenging the player and make it more fresh and enjoyable for the individual or for the team. And they're going to focus on the player to adapt their technique to meet different challenges. As again, so take them out of that automatic stage and bring them into the more mental stage where you're really challenging them and see how to perform under a wee bit of a how to perform after making a mistake or whatever. And then move to your mental effort is increased, so players are more tuned in, and keeping activities fresh will lead to better retention and understanding. Again, to find out about understanding is through our use of questioning. So what and how. Okay, so get the player to respond by understanding of what you as the coach are looking for. So here we just have a couple of activities. So Brian spoke about your random practice and your closed. So here we have our high catch. So here you just have your two players. They're just throwing the ball over and back. Okay, very little decision making to be made. So it's just getting the technique right. As we move on down, you'll see there's more decision. It's more related to a game situation where the player has to run and jump for the ball. So now they have to decide when they're going to jump, when they're going to get their hands in the air, and when they grab the ball, what's the next thing they're going to do. Okay, they're going to secure the ball in their chest, okay, and take their 4 steps. All right, so that's just progressing on from just a basic static drill. If we move over to the advanced drill, now it's really concentrating more on what is going to happen in a game. So it's 2 players competing for the ball. All right, so you're not just focusing on the ball now, you're focusing on your opponent. All right, so are you going to shield your opponent then go for the ball, or go for the ball straight away? So the player, that's your mental stage where the player has to really think what they're going to do. And then they're progressing it on to a game, as you see down below, into a game where they're one-on-one. The coach kicks the ball in, whatever player wins the ball, what to do next with it. Okay, so this is like a random practice that Brian just spoke about. When they get the ball, they're not just dropping the ball. So they're getting the ball, and it's like a match situation. When you get the ball, you take your player on and you go for your score. Just the same with your kick pass in here, simple straight line kicking. Then we move on to passing and move. When you kick the ball, you move, you're not standing still. And as you go on to your intermediate drills, you're adding more players, so there's more traffic. So when you kick the ball, you're not just running straight line, you have to weave in and out, and there's more decision making. And this is your mental stage again, where you have to think when you should pass the ball, you're passing the ball to a moving target as well. So again, on our crouch lift, you start off very simple. Up here at the top, you lift the ball and you're just dropping it down. Very simple. Moving on then to a rolling ball. So this time the ball is going to be moving. You're picking the ball up when it's moving. That's as in a match situation. Not every ball you pick up is going to be static on the ground. Some balls are going to be moving. So therefore, yeah, you have to practice that in your session in order for the player to be able to do it in a game. Then you move on to adding 2 players in. Coach rolls the ball out and 2 players are fighting for the ball. First of all, you have to be mentally strong on this one, that when you get the ball, you're not thinking about the player coming in behind. All right, you're just concentrating on the ball and when you get the ball, you're going to secure it, and you bring that into a game situation. And here we have our near hand tackle. Again, starting it very simple, just in straight lines, where you're just focusing on getting your hand in. You're just focusing on getting the hand in. Then you move it on to pressure this time, like you move it on to forward three defenders, where the defenders have to try and get the ball off the forward, and the forward can go in any direction or any way they want. Just they're not running in straight lanes. And the same with the fist passing again. Okay, so straight line fist passing, moving on to passing and move. So when you pass the ball, you have to move. You can't stand still. Moving on to a game, more like a game when you can pass the ball and you're running off the shoulder to receive the ball again. All right, I'm bringing it into a game situation where you have different goals, and to score a goal, you have to run through the goal by receiving the ball, running off the shoulder. All right, so just as we've been explaining from the start of the presentation, where you want to be bringing it into a game, your sessions to be match related. So you can't be expecting, if you don't practice these things in your session, you can't really expect your players to be able to perform them in the game. So for example, kickouts, if you want to work on going short for your kickouts, if you don't practice them in training, you can't really expect your players to be on the same wavelength, where some of them are trying to run to create space, and some of them are standing still and blocking up that space. Okay, so, and you as a manager or coach are giving out where you haven't practiced it in training, so you can't really expect the players to be able to do it. So anything we do in training, we want to have it match realistic, so when they get into it during the game, they'll be able to perform under pressure.
Okay, folks, so a lot of you've probably seen this image before. Again, if you've been on any courses or anything, it's just an image of the plant. What does a plant need to grow? Okay, so it needs air, it needs light, it needs heat, it needs water, it needs protection, it needs soil. Okay, so again, as coaches, we can adapt this to our players also. All right, if we focus too much on one thing and not enough on the other, the player isn't going to develop fully. All right. If we constantly focus on hand passing drills and hand passing activities, as Anthony's just after saying, how can we expect our players to go out and kick past the ball when it comes to matches? All right, if we're not working on these during our training sessions. Okay, so if we focus too much on one thing and not enough on another, we're not doing our players the service that they require. All right, so we're doing them at the service. All right, so it's just important throughout our training sessions that we bear in mind throughout the season that we're working on all the different aspects of the game. Okay, and that's probably where your tourist principle comes in again, and you're looking at your player pathway. Okay, so if you're an under-7 coach, okay, it's not important that you're working on every skill during that season, but at the end of the year, you can say, well, my under-7s can solo the ball, they can bounce the ball, and they can pick up the ball. All right, if different management team for under-8s, you can relay that information to the under-8s, and then gives them peace of mind that they can focus possibly on 3 different skills throughout their season. So there's a link between each of our age groups. Okay, so that eventually, hopefully, by the time to get the minor and get the adult football, that they've developed the player in the right way, that they've focused on a number of different aspects of the game throughout, remember, their long-term player development plan. Okay, so that's what it's all about, the long-term player development plan. So it doesn't all have to be done in one season, but that we've a good player pathway in place in our clubs, that we know that each age group is working on these specific areas. Okay, and each coach is given the best opportunity to develop their players, because as a coach, you don't have time throughout the year to focus on every skill that's in the game. So we have to make sure that where each coach is doing their job at each specific age group. Okay, and that'll make your job as coaches an awful lot easier going forward. So just bear in mind the plant, okay? That if it doesn't get enough air, it's going to die. If it doesn't get enough light, it's going to die. If it doesn't get enough heat, it's not going to live. If it doesn't get water, it's not going to live. Protection and soil, it's not going to live. Okay? So if it doesn't get all these elements, it's not going to develop. Our player is the very, very same. If it doesn't get an opportunity to develop their skills, all the different skills of the game, then the player isn't going to develop properly either. So just bear that in mind whenever we are planning our coaching sessions. And if you go back to your clubs, if you haven't got a player pathway in place, I'd encourage you to try and get one. Okay, if it's through and contact your GDA, and they'll no doubt give you a hand to do it. There's a number of different areas where you can pick up drills and activities. We've the Loud GAA manual, we've learning.ga.ie, okay, that website. There's a number of different activities on it. So there's loads of activities and drills out there. But just bear in mind as well that it has to be player centered. Don't be seeing activities that you think look good in a piece of paper, but is it really going to develop your players? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Now, you have the outcomes at the end of the session of what you want to get out at the end of the session and at the end of the season. So bear them outcomes in mind whenever you are planning your session. Okay, folks. Hope you've got something from that presentation there tonight. Me and Anthony will probably just stay online for another wee while. If anyone's any questions, just pop them into the chat there, and we'll do our very best to answer. Thanks for tuning in tonight on the bank holiday. Hope you enjoyed it. Got something from it. Okay. Shane.
Yeah, okay, folks, thanks very much, Anthony and Brian. Very well worked out presentation. Just as Brian Oak said, there's loads of, it's not just that coaches have to make up their drills every week in, week out. There is so many resources out there that you can get drills, technical drills and games online, and both in manuals. And so if you have any issues, contact the GDA that's assigned to your club in Louth. I know we've got people from outside the county here, but in Louth, each GDA is assigned to 5 clubs. So not only will they be out in the club, but I'm sure if they pick up the phone or sent them an email, they'll give you a hand designing a couple of sessions. Also, just like as Brian said, Brian and Anthony and myself are going to hang around just for any questions that anyone has. Feel free to type them into the box there, and we'll answer them as well as we can. Thanks very much for tuning in. We have just keep a lookout online. We've more webinars on Wednesday night and next Monday and Wednesday also. So hopefully see some of you logged in again. Thank you.